Hi. Grey's in Between was filmed in 2008. I was 1 year out of film school, and having just spent 2 years doing a master's, I'd watched an awful lot of films. What I knew I wanted to do was make a film the like of which I'd never seen. Break a few rules maybe, but also write it in the full knowledge that it was no budget from the outset. I mean, I was skint from having just spent 2 years as a student. Yes, my fees were picked up by a skill set scholarship for which I was very grateful, but there was still the rest of my life to pay for. So Grey's was going to go on a credit card. But regardless, I was determined to make it. Filmmaking is a risk. One of the worst, any investor will tell you, liable to hemorrhage money and famously known to take not just actors and directors to untimely ends, but even studios. Yet again though, I have to sing the praises, the strength of the no budget. The risk is relatively tiny. I'm not ever advertising you spend your money or money you don't have or you can't afford. The whole point of this course is that you make this movie in full knowledge of exactly how much you have, and that this is cash you can afford to spend rather than the next month's rent. The idea is to write the scripts playing entirely to your strengths, to what you already know and you know you can lay your hands on in terms of locations, props, kit, and possibly cast, that you know someone with a camera and lights, someone with a vehicle that can not only get you and the crew to where you need to go along with your borrowed camera, but also be used in the film itself as the getaway car. Grey's was done and dusted in 34 pages, as I said. I knew it was a 90-minute film because as I wrote it, I watched it unfold in my head. But when I put it down on the page, that's all it came in as. Now, if I'd even attempted to put that screenplay into competition, it wouldn't have been accepted, as most of them, the minimum page count is 70, usually 70 to 120 pages. If I'd offered it to a production company or for finance, to the likes of Film 4 or BBC or BFI, it wouldn't have qualified for consideration because it was far too short. But you see, I knew, only you can know, the shot in your film where the old lady walks home whistling quietly to herself whilst the donkey follows dutifully along behind, pausing momentarily to grab a juicy mouthful of leaves along the way. Only you can know how long that scene is. No one gets shot. There's no helicopter gunships strafing careening muscle cars. Quite possibly nothing discernible happens at all to that character, the donkey, or anyone else she passes along the way in terms of realising anything or development. It's not in any way, shape or form a Hollywood script. She's even got a face more wrinkled than a walnut. But yet, you know the scene is perfect. For me, that might read as half a line on my page. The old lady walks home, followed by Russell. But it might take 6 minutes. My initial idea for Grey's was to tell two stories in effect, one visual and one oral, and have them both meet up at the end. The visual story took in the whole of London as she wandered the streets, took in a gallery, ate, gazed and reminisced. Oral story, meanwhile, was her inner monologue, her stream of consciousness as she dwelt on her life and her love. What I hoped to achieve was a sort of ode to London, but also a contemplative film that allowed the audience to make their own connections to the stimuli, drifting in and out of their own experiences, coming back to the movie as and when. What this in turn also allowed me to do was dispense with the recording location sound altogether. There was very little dialogue, almost all of it being recorded elsewhere in a controlled environment. This was freeing for me because it drastically reduced the crew size, making us far less obtrusive and nimble on our shoot. The camera was actually quite big, a lot bigger than now, but this predated many of the superb small superb record to card mirrorless cameras. But still, for a good deal of the shoot, it was just me, my DP Stu and my lead actress. We would shoot all over London and no one clocked what we were up to. There was no shouting. Sound, speed, camera, and action. It was all done beneath the radar. And because I knew London, I knew what I could potentially achieve, what I could and could not do. I could inquire about permissions, the National Gallery being the main one. And this was the thing that cost the vast majority of the budget, hiring out the entire gallery after hours for an hour to get the shots I needed. But again, because I was a really small outfit, minimal crew, minimal kit, tiny budget, The gallery were happy to take a tiny proportion of what they would charge a standard film production. What I'm saying is you just need to have the idea, the imagination in the first place, and then the courage to ask. All they can do is say no, and you relocate that scene to somewhere that says yes. It only takes one yes. So you can begin to see how it can all start to drop into place, how a knowledge of your surrounds can really boost your concept. Locations, in my case London, became the entire backdrop, and in a way the third lead of the movie. Take a look around you with a different lens. What you ignore because it's everyday to you is not someone else's everyday. Your corner of the earth is hugely different to mine from everyone else's, so use that, because you'll also have a good idea what you can gain access to.